Welcome to the Wake.Show. As everybody knows, a show needs an intro. This is that intro. I am Fisher, your host, featuring Chris McCarty,
oh, you just messed
and our guest, Steve Arferas. He's from the Lightning. All right. Welcome to the Wake.Show, everybody. My name is Chris Fisher, along with Chris McCarty, and our guest today is Steve Arferas. Welcome back.
What's happening, friends?
How are you doing, man?
Me or him?
Well, let's
go in first.
We'll go with him first.
I'm good. I want to hear about the man from Liverpool.
Right. That's right.
Return from Liverpool.
So we welcome back Chris. Has been overseas. You're overseas for. Let's do this. Let's get fancy.
11 days. Man.
There we go. So you're overseas 11. Welcome back.
Welcome back.
I want to look you in the eyes. Hi, everybody. Oh yeah, have we shared? Have you guys shared yet?
Oh wait,
pushing it.
Well, we want to apologize because there were some crazy technical issues that we couldn't even figure out for like an hour. What's wrong? And we figured it out, which is good. So we're all gonna
here we go.
Make a mad dash and share the show.
So welcome back. We want to talk a lot. I want to get caught up because even though you've already been back for 4 or 5 days, and I'm sure you've shared all the stories, No,
not really, man.
Okay,
I've kept it, waiting for this because this is my thing.
Okay.
No, it was I've been back, just stay with my kids. I haven't gone anywhere. I haven't really answered the phone. I've just been with my babies, which is awesome.
Exactly.
And it's crazy because it's the longest I've been away from them, and man, they're just needing daddy love, which is awesome. But my daughter Valentine, she's not letting me go. I mean, it's like, I know, it's awesome, So
well, listen, because we're only going to cover really one topic other than getting caught up from Liverpool, and that is coming up at 1 o'clock. I want to make sure I set my alarm. We're going to have on a columnist to talk about really the only news that people are talking about today. And that is what happened in Helsinki yesterday between our president and Vladimir Putin. From a layman's point of view, from my point of view, some things are making me nervous. But I'm not a political expert, right?
Right.
Chris is not a political expert.
Nope.
But we are Americans. We do have opinions about things. The guy we're having on is Tim Bryce. He is a conservative columnist. So since I'm a little nervous about what happened, I have some things that I would like to say about my fears. I would like to at least get somebody on who usually sides with the president on things, and kind
of like a devil's advocate aspect, which is good. We need that. Right. Yeah, definitely.
So we'll run those questions by him. But we can actually start right there because Chris, you were in Liverpool for about a week, right?
Yeah, for a little while. Yeah, I don't know, actually like 11 days, 10 days, something like that.
There's a part of me that thinks all you did over there was spread the love and play music and have a good time. But I also know that the politics of the world are in effect, and our president was there a couple of days ago. Yeah. So I'm sure you had conversations with the Liverpoolians.
I did, and it's really amazing because when you're over here, you think that what's in front of you is really what's going on. But no, I had a taxi driver, an Uber driver, a couple people who were in just places I was playing, asking me, what are your thoughts on the president? And I'm like, wow, this is amazing. And they're really, really passionate over there. I mean, I'm talking passionate, and the general consensus is they're just not supporters of Trump. And I mean, they were just going in, and they were laughing about the possibility of this big blimp. And I mean, and listen, I didn't lead any which way. I was just, I was just listening. I mean, I was really impressed. I mean, just what they knew, like they really, really are just knowledgeable, well knowledgeable about the whole thing. And it was interesting, man.
Well, then we won't spend too much time on that because there's the experience over there wasn't about politics.
No,
it was about a story that a random meeting. Oh wait, I'm sorry. There's no such thing as
nothing's random. Everything has meaning. Everything has meaning. Yeah.
That turned into you going to play for or play at a Beatles tribute. So I don't even know all the details about what your journey was.
All right, so what happened? All right, so everyone, if you kind of timing it now, a couple years back, I met Julia Baird, who's John Lennon's sister. I was playing at the beach. The Beatles, Marcy Beatles, the #1 Beatles cover band in the world, basically, they're on tour, an American tour. Their first stop was in Tampa. They happened to be staying at the hotel across the street, and they showed up, and then I was playing. And so I was invited to go there and played, and now I'm coming back for the second time. This is what the second time show was. This time when I got there, right off the plane, I'm exhausted because it's just time difference. I get there, it's like 6 a.m, and I have a show, and it's going to be at Fernley. Fernley. It's like a disabled
Fernley home. Park, is it like Fenway Park? But
no,
different?
It was a home for with adults with disabilities.
Okay.
So the most humbling aspect about it is like, when you're in public and you see someone who has a disability, how we tend to look away. We don't look, we stare, like you feel awkward and whatnot. Hopefully people feel bad. And so out of all my life, you've seen different ones. I'm literally playing a show in front of 23 adults with all different types that you've seen all your life, and they're like right in front of me, right? Some in their wheelchairs, some are in chairs, some are standing up, and you can't help but feel really blessed. I was sitting here in my mind like, thank you, God, for my children's health. Thank you for my health. Thank you. I mean, and they're talking to the people who work there, and they're telling us stories about how some of them, many of them, were dropped off by their parents. Like just didn't want to deal with them. You're hearing stories about some of them that die.
Was their age range, like, was this only for one age to another age?
It was like 20 to like 60. I mean, we're talking 23 of individuals, and God, I'm remembering it now. It was really, really powerful, and that's the power of music, man. Like they're just like us. They're feeling it, and they're into it. And they can, and there's a video I posted. There's a man who is like, they got a little toy guitar, and he's standing there strumming, and he's singing along. And of course, he doesn't know the words, but he's feeling the music, so he's like trying to sing. And you just imagine, and so then they're telling me a story about how one of the, I don't want to say patients, but one of the people who lived there passed away, and their parents were like trying to get the caretakers to handle the whole funeral. Well, we didn't really know him, and it's just things like that. It just really, it hurts. I took a tour around the whole facility, and you're seeing like the dark room, whether they have little, moments where they panic, and they have dark room, they have the light room, they have the touch room, they have, it's just, and then you ask about the funding, and they're just not being taken care of. So
there's these rooms you're talking about. What's
like
the
room?
Well, the panic room sounds self-explanatory. You're starting to freak out. Go in that rubber room.
Right.
Let's put these gloves on you.
But no, it's more like it's if how sometimes light can be sensitive, and when it's dark you can calm down, and where there's just different disabilities that they have that certain things trigger, and some things heal them. And
you said one thing was a touch room?
Yeah, there was like a wall where they can touch different feels, and it just it's just, I'm telling you, man, like you just, I almost wish that every single person could go in there and just stay there for just 30 minutes and look in the eyes of every single one. Not the way we look away. I mean, look them in the eyes and know that, yo, man, that person's never going to be able to dance, walk, drink, probably even have sex. They're just not going to have relationships, cast aside. And here we are complaining about my cell phone's not working, or I didn't get this, like I need this now, like, oh, you can't. I mean, just it's just amazing. So that was the first thing that I did, and that was a great just balance to start off the whole trip, to be like,
is that where this came from? Was that this?
No. Okay, so
can I? You want to bring that up now, or wait till? Okay,
perfect. Yeah. So we talk about being the difference and making a difference. So again, that, when I went there, it got me on this whole like, wow, I just want to help everybody thing, right? And I've always been on that, but even more so, thank you God for that. I finished playing, and of course I'm going to listen to other music. So I go to this club and listen to this band, really good, and I see a woman walk down with like 4 or 5 dudes. She has no hair, right? So she's clearly gone through cancer. And I kind of watch them, and the guys are all trying to like make her feel good and whatnot. And I just felt compelled to write this note. And so what happened was after I finished writing the note, I turned and I see her walking outside. I'm like, perfect. So I go outside and say, excuse me, ma'am, you dropped this. And she turned around, and I gave it to her, and I just turned around and walked away. Never saw her again. I never saw her again. I don't, and it's just, I tell you, man, like the idea of us being together, the idea of like, that uplifting someone, the idea of, people, man, it's a hard game. This game is hard, man. It's really, really difficult. So it felt good, and that's why, I wanted to share that. And I do good things. I feel like we should all do good things, but I feel like now having this platform, it's important to share these aspects, and that's where we're saying, hey, let's have a pay it forward moment and whatnot.
I wish I was a little bit more brave in those moments. A fear would arise in me that I was patronizing the person, or she doesn't want to hear anything else about her. But you can't let those things jam you up. You can't go, what if this person reacts this way? What if this? You go, no, it's coming from the heart. It's coming from love.
Yes, because she may go to those guys and be like, did you see the dude? Because I'm the only dude with look how I'm dressed, like woohoo, and so you never know, like, well, where is he? He's not here. Like, she could be like, was that an angel? You don't know what that could do with someone's mind, and so I looked at it like it just felt compelled to do it. I was there. I went to the movies. This is last year after going to the Beatles, and I kept hearing the Beatles everywhere I was going when I came home. And there was a woman in front of me. I was going to the movie theater, and she had a John Lennon shirt. And
a what shirt?
She had a John Lennon shirt on.
Oh, okay.
And so she's in front of me, and she goes to buy her stuff, and I'm hearing pay for her food. So I literally just go, excuse me, I'll pay for that. She goes, you don't have to do that. I'm like, yeah, I'm just following the voice. And she looks at me and says, you don't understand what that means to me. I just lost my husband, and this is my first time going to a movie without him. Thank you. And she starts crying, and I get all teary-eyed, and it's like, that's what I mean. It's these moments. It's like,
can I ask you about that moment?
Yeah, go ahead.
Because I don't want to stop you if you're a stream of consciousness, but how do you interpret that moment? Is that a moment because you feel like you're somebody who's a little bit more in tune with the universe, more in tune with those things we're supposed to be in tune with, that's a moment where her husband or husband's spirit, however that works, kind of goes whack and interacts with her through you in that moment? Is that where that voice comes, or how do you see that phenomenon?
That's a great way of thinking. I never really thought about that, but when you say that, I think that life is magical, and it could be. I think I'm a very sensitive dude, and I also feel like it's like a muscle. Like, you can strengthen that muscle, so the more you listen to it and you do it, maybe it speaks louder. So I don't know. I just think it's good. I think when we talk about being the change, I would love it if the world was like that, if everyone just thought about other people instead of just themselves so much. So I don't know, I just did it, but it's funny because each moment when I do, I get something back that tells me, that confirms, like, yo, you were supposed to do this. Like before I left, I was in Publix. Now, I don't really tend to do it if someone's like going to buy alcohol, or I'm like, no, right? But I was at Publix. It's the end of the night, and I see this woman, and she worked at Publix, so she was in front of me. I gave a smile, and I see her with wine, right? And that same thing, like, buy her wine. But I have the internal conversation, like, I'm not buying her alcohol. Like, I remember being like, I'm like, no, it's buying alcohol.
Steve was like, man, I could have been me that day.
Right? And but then it was like, buy it. So I walked over there and said, excuse me, and I put my card in. And she's like, no. And I'm like, no. This is my blessing. Don't turn on my blessing. She looked at me. She started crying. And she said, no one has ever done something nice like this for me. And I'm thinking, no one? Like, no one? Like, that sucks, man. That sucks that we live in a world where, like, people aren't even, like,
buying booze for
$7,
people,
man. But again, like, you don't know what she's been through. Right. Like, I didn't want to. I've never done the alcohol thing, but she obviously had a rough day and something going on in her world. Like, dude, I don't care who you are. You've got stuff going on. And the older we get, the harder it seems to be. And so I don't know if there's a heaven. I believe there's a heaven. I don't know if this is how to get to heaven. We just don't know. But I know it felt good. It felt right. And I feel like if I go back to heaven, I meet God, if God's real, which I believe he is, and then the guy would be like, yo, I'm proud of you. Oh my God, that would be the greatest thing ever. Forget these human beings that don't know what they're doing. That's who I want to please. And so, again, like, I just feel like my mission is just to impact people's lives the best that I can. In any moment, anytime, and it's hard. It's a job. It's like every day you wake up and you're running across people every day. Like, are you gonna let them in? I'm okay to be one car length behind at work. Like, you know what I mean? Right. Like, what are you gonna do? That's just, and so I don't know. I just, it feels right. It feels right.
Yeah, you just came back from Liverpool.
Yeah.
You had some very unique experiences. As I'm finishing this question, I want you to kind of process it and those. Step away. You might have already done this, but kind of step away from it and look at it, because you all of a sudden are on a plane. You're in the birthplace of the Beatles. You're hanging out with John Lennon's sister.
It's crazy. Right?
You're being taken around so that you can play for some of the disabled human beings, lovely human beings there in England, halfway across the pond.
Yeah.
You didn't just go over there and take pictures with somebody. You didn't just go sit there in front of the Big Ben and get a selfie.
Right.
And if you did, that's fine.
I didn't.
But you went over there and were a part of these things that removed our highlights.
Yeah.
All right. Now, I don't even know how the day played out, the actual benefit day, because all I know is all the other stuff that you were doing around Liverpool, but the actual benefit itself and that tribute and how did that, day play out? And did it go off like you wanted it to?
You mean the day when I went to the disabled home, or when I was with the next day at the Cavern Club with Julia?
So what was the Beatles tribute? What was that?
Oh, so okay, so there's a movie being created. It's a documentary on the Beatles called Here, There, and Everywhere. Okay. When I was in England last year, the man happened to be at the show and was like, "I want you in the film." And then he reached out to me. So he reached out to me.
So you weren't playing a tribute. You were over there for this video, this movie.
Do stuff. And so he was in Scotland and came over that day just to have this moment, which was so blessing, man. What a blessing. And so he wanted to put me in the movie. He just, believed in what I was doing and believed in me as a man, and so then had me, and so we, had a little interview. I got some of that interview on my phone somewhere, but it was cool. It was amazing. It was
Are you talking about the interview on the train?
No, I had an actual interview in the Cavern Club after my performance. So we went back there into the back room and asked me a couple questions about what I think the relevancy is with the Beatles and what it means, and it's a worldwide thing, man. Like when I'm at the Cavern Club, there are literally, they ask at one point, and they just rattle off, I think, like 14 different countries, and people are like, "We're here," like, and from Chile, woo, Argentina, woo. I mean, it was amazing, man. Like, wow, like this many people around the whole globe have been touched and affected by the Beatles and their music. I mean, it was it's a beautiful thing.
Okay,
it's amazing. Yeah. So then
I thought you were over there part of like a whole day celebration.
That
all
was
these
last
bands.
year. That was last year. They had the Beatles. It was the 60th anniversary of when they met.
All right.
So that year, that was when, Are
you
so
ready?
It was cool.
I want to come back to it. You ready to talk some politics? Politics of the day?
Yeah, here we go.
Let's just do the full 180 right now.
Yeah.
Face, go from a point of love and happiness to like
death and destruction.
Yeah, what do we do when the bombs hit?
Oh man.
Like I said, I'm about to
bring. You better be thinking, be nice to people, because that's what I'm doing. Be nice to everybody, and if it blows up, like, hey, can I hang out here?
Doing here? There we go. Sorry about that. I want to talk to Tim Bryce now. We're ringing him in. And he is a conservative columnist. And the reason I tracked down a conservative columnist versus somebody who might be a liberal columnist is just because I'm the one that's feeling a little nervous about what's going on. I don't like what I saw, so I want to bring in somebody who can give me another point of view on that. Tim Bryce, can you see me, sir? Check.
Chris?
Oh, there you are. How are you doing?
What's up, Tim?
Hey, what's good word?
Chilling, man. You, dude. We're trying to be like you today.
Well, here's the thing. Yesterday was a big day in politics. Let me do this here. Yesterday was an interesting day, and since I left, News Talk Radio, I try not to keep up. I try not to keep up with too much politics. I'm trying to focus on other things in my life and leave that up to people like you. But then there are times that I'm like going, wait a second, man, this just doesn't. I don't want to try to overreact to the president one way or another. Trump is a very interesting personality. But in recent weeks, things just don't seem right. It seems like, from my layman's vantage point, that we are chancing breaking that North, the alliance, the NATO alliance, and the people that we've been in have been our allies since the end of the war, and starting to buddy up to the Russians and Putin. So I wanted to bring you in so you can kind of give me a little bit more perspective and calm my fears and all that good stuff.
Well, it's easy to calm your fears. Okay. There's nothing really to be worried about. Everything's going fine. what we've got is just a huge distraction going on right now by the mainstream media, plain and simple. Everybody, after the press conference yesterday, was in a panic mode. Everybody was scared to death. Oh, this is treasonous. He's a traitor. He's terrible, and this and that. Well, did you expect anything less? I mean, everything was going to be the same no matter what it came on out. If he had bullied him, oh, he's a bully. He's too much. He's handled that all wrong. Remember, they didn't even want him to go see Putin. And there was a lot of them saying, do not do the Helsinki summit. And we saw basically the same thing in Singapore, that he said he was in over his head. We saw the same thing at NATO, and he's in over his head. And basically what has happened with the media is we have a Pavlov's dog effect here. As soon as Trump speaks, they want us to salivate. And I'm sorry, I just don't fall for that. Now, the big question is why? Why do they want to do that type of stuff?
So in times like these, too, I like to turn to Fox News for some perspective, because when I start to hear or see more than the usual hubbub about what's going on, I go, okay, let's see if there's something going on. Because if I turn over to Brett Baer, the 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock news there on Fox News, I feel like he's somebody that kind of gives it to me down the middle. Yes, he does lean right, or that show leans right. They take care of their audience, which is leans right. That's fine by me. I'll get a right-leaning perspective. I can do that. And I can get a left-wing perspective without getting angry. So, but even it seems like the Republicans and the conservatives are not. It looked like we capitulated, and we are getting closer and closer to trying to figure out relationships with Russia, and to hell with the UK and Germany and anybody else.
It's an interesting observation, an interesting point of view. Do you really think he believes that way?
I'm not sure. I think Donald Trump to me is a wild card. I look at him more as like the Tasmanian, because I was a person
he's a businessman.
Yeah, well, I
come from another area. Nobody understands him. You and I have talked about this numerous times in the past out there. And again, I just love watching him. But here's the thing. I watched the news conference yesterday. You and I were not in obviously the Helsinki talks. We have no idea what was going on there. I did see Putin interviewed by Chris Wallace. I did not see Trump interviewed by Hannity, so I missed that. All I know is what they said at the press conference, and I saw that, and I didn't think it was bad. Of course, I turned around and I looked at all different stations. I love going to MSNBC immediately after a thing, because I love it, the panic that goes on in here, and the trees and whatever. It's funny, but look, this is the reason. They're trying to preach fear. And why are they trying to preach fear? It's because the economy is booming. And this is the story they don't want you to hear. That's what's really going on. Nobody wants to talk about the GDPs going up. They don't want to talk about the GDP of China going down. So hey, maybe the tariffs are working after all.
So you don't think that there is an issue with our president standing next to their president, and he's saying I don't believe my intelligence about the Russian meddling. Putin firmly said, strongly said what he said, and I believe him.
Yeah, they're trying to make it out like.
But that is an issue. Listen, this doesn't need to be left and right.
He's dismissing all that. He's not dismissing that. He's just trying to leave the door open. Something both could work something out. I did like Putin's suggestion. Hey, bring Mueller and his team over there to Russia. Have them talk to them.
They'll be dead in 5 minutes. They'll be poisoned before they get off the plane. So, Tim, in your estimation, then this is something that is being another moment that's being overblown by the mainstream media. That this is something that will come and go, and we'll be on to the next thing, and we should really be focusing on how good the economy is going, and so on and so forth.
Well, I was just, by the way, up at the GOP summit up in Orlando a couple of weeks ago, and yes, I did see your old buddies from News Talk Radio up there, and I was on with them, and saw Kurt, saw Blake, saw the whole bunch up there. And it was very interesting watching the press sit up there again. You and I have talked about that as well, but everybody was trying to wrap themselves around Donald Trump. I could not believe how strongly this was going. I was not expecting it, quite frankly. It was a good seminar in terms of getting to know who the various candidates are, especially for Agriculture Secretary. and Attorney General. That's going to be an interest. Both of those are going to be interesting races. But then you had all kinds of pep rallies and so on. And I said, well, okay, I get it. Yeah, the Democrats are bad. Okay, I get it. But what else can we talk about in terms of the Democrats like that? And I'd like to talk about all the fake voting that they've got planned, and so on. And it just, guys, you got to stay on point here. You got to stay on point. You got to stay on what's going on with the campaign. This is what it's all about. It's the midterms. They're trying to vilify Donald Trump just so that they can, get their people elected, which I understand.
Well, can I ask you a question? Because I have a close friend that's losing a lot of money on retirement with her retirement fund. So, you say that the economy is doing well, but, I have some friends who talk about the stock market being down and not going up. So how do you explain that?
Hey, it's going up and down both. This week has been fairly good. Last week was so-so. It was okay. It's the Chinese stock market is way down. It's like 25% down if you look at that. So I mean, it's a touchy thing. I think it expanded too fast following the election. I think it went up too fast, and I think what we saw was simply a correction. And keep in mind, I don't claim to be a super expert economist by any stretch of the imagination. But this is my feeling on it.
Okay. Tim Bryce, thank you so much. It's always a pleasure to have you on, and I appreciate your point of view and your contribution to the conversation as always.
Appreciate it, guys. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Take care.
Keep the faith.
Thank you. All right. Tim Bryce, conservative columnist. And so.
Your face.
Do I have to go first?
I'll see what you say.
I don't know him that well.
Okay.
I've had Tim on my shows when I was over doing AM 820. I guess I feel like he was.
He didn't answer my question. That's what I feel like.
I feel like it was.
Yo, what's up with?
I feel like because he even said he only watched the press conference. I don't know.
Well, here's my thing. When you make a bold statement saying the economy is doing great, that's what he said. And then he was like, well, it's up and down this week. It's like, wait, well, then don't say it's great. If that's the case, if I'm saying I got a person that's saying they're physically losing retirement money, that's no one saying anything about down with Trump. They're saying, hey, we're losing retirement money. That's all I'm saying. It's like, can you give us some definitive answer instead of kind of like but that's my take why I don't really get with politics because I don't feel like no one's really being authentic. So I'm like, I'll just save people one person at a time.
It's now before we go into any of this, I'm going to look right into the soul of the camera.
Give it to him.
This is not financial advice.
Oh, that's right. This is what you do for a living.
I am not telling you what to do.
Zoom in.
Disclaimer 1. I think there's another one I got to do. Do not take this as personal advice. This is broad, overarching principles not to be taken as a personal recommendation. You're welcome.
All right. Now you can zoom back out.
Zoom back out. God.
So is that like right before an MMA boxer or a black belt kicks your ass, he has to let you know that he is certified? And
that's what they say. Yeah. So basically, when you have to think about it from a broad perspective, the market is up. But that doesn't necessarily mean the economy is good or stable. The reality becomes that there's the death cross, they call it. It's a certain point in the economy where long-term borrowing, like loans, and short-term borrowing crisscross.
I'd like to set up your expertise at this point, if you don't mind. You don't have to say who you work for, because
it's fine.
I know you don't want to speak for the people you work for.
True. That was the disclaimer too, of course. But yeah, you can.
So your financial advisor, or whatever your title is, and how many years, and so on.
5 years financial advisor representative.
Okay. All right. So go ahead.
So basically, what's going to happen is at this point where long-term rates become less than a short-term rate, you're getting what's called the inverse yield curve, or a death cross. It usually signals a recession. Well, we're getting closer and closer to it every day. And if you look back over time at the market, it's ticking all the way up. It's doing what it's supposed to. But in the last 2 years, it's starting to do much more wild fluctuations. So if you go to like CNBC or MarketWatch, whatever you want to use for your particular finance input, you're going to see, like in the last couple of years, depending on the day, we're talking about up or down 2% sometimes. Ordinarily, like between 0.3% and 0.7%, that's pretty normal. But when you start seeing like massive sell-off because someone said this, that doesn't show a healthy economy. That shows a reactive economy.
Right.
You can just tell me I had the wrong camera on you.
No, I'm a
It was more reassuring because Chris looks like, yes, Steve seems to know what he's saying. At least I'm answering your question.
No. Thank you. Right.
Yeah.
Thank you. Just give me something.
Right.
By the way, the reason that keeps happening because the cameras got taken out the other day, and when I put them back in, they're backwards. So I keep
you're good, brother.
I keep hitting the wrong buttons.
Sometimes on TV, that's what analysts do. They stare at the TV and they, we're good. We got this. We're good.
So
no one knew until you said something. By the way.
I thought maybe it feels like it was Tim Bryce, and thank you so much, Tim. And you might even be
Tim.
watching.
Thanks, Tim.
But I really do feel like, but he has a better perspective than me. I mean, I got to give him respect for that. But it really did feel like it's almost. Are you in the category now where it doesn't matter what you hear Trump doing that you go, I don't want to hear it because I can draw a parallel to the last president or Clinton or whoever, so I don't. It's just hypocrisy to me. And if you want to start talking about this with Trump, then let's talk about this with Obama or liberals or da 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 da.
We should find. You know what we should probably do would be great is to have someone on the other side the next day. So today we had this guy Tim, and the next day we have, and just kind of crisscross and see what they say, and we can kind of figure out our own answers from that.
I am going.
Yeah.
I'm going to message.
I'm looking at this right now, and some people they're not necessarily happy with what they heard, which
right,
politics does.
Then that's fine.
It's divided.
It's fine. Yeah. And so I know another columnist here in the Bay Area that I don't know if it's his equal and opposite kind of a thing, but his name's Dan Ruth. I'll message Dan.
Cool.
I'll message. Hold on. So I have to.
He has to do this impulsive. This is the thing. I do the same thing because if you don't, you're not going to. You have. That's where that impulsivity works. If you can use it to your favor, man. Right away.
Siri, remind me to email Dan Ruth when I get home today.
Okay, I'll remind you when you arrive at home.
Thank you.
She's
You're a
so
good
nice.
woman.
Fascinating.
Gosh, man.
It's.
Wouldn't you marry Siri if you could?
She's too judgmental.
But she got a booty though. I'm kidding.
How do you picture Siri?
Ma.
Really?
What?
I don't. I was going to say, man, she's a school marm or some uptight. Never mind. I don't like Siri. She's
what? She always has your. Well, not always. You're right. I don't know what you're saying. You're right.
Are you saying please and thank you to Siri? Because I am, just in case the machines take over in the next couple of weeks. I want Siri to be like. I want her to remember he said please and thank you for directions to pizza.
Man, so you think that's going to happen after the bombs?
I want Apple to have that stored.
Is that going to happen after the war?
Dude, who's to say at this point? That was the scariest part before the show. Was we were talking about having Mr. Rice on, and I was talking about notes, and I was saying my notes for the war.
He said war.
That was kind of telling. It was Freudian. It's a slip, whatever.
It was a slip,
but it's in our minds. I'd say more so than it was
yesterday.
2 weeks ago. Yeah,
3 days ago. Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to, I guess, be honest, just be authentic in this moment.
Yes.
You guys know that I do not follow the politics that I once did. I for 20 plus years, this was all I consumed, all the news and issues of the day. I stopped doing that last October, really, but it's a fight because I'm drawn to it too. So I try to keep it at arm's length. I watch just a couple of shows, read a couple of things, and then try to just keep it at arm's length. I will say that on the outside looking in, following the way that I have, and this is not just the past week with the UK and Germany, but going back to those meetings with Canada and going back, I'm concerned that our president really is one of those people whose worldview is if you're not equally as powerful as him or more in his mind, then you're weak and you don't deserve to be in power and this and this and this. And so my concern is that he might actually be entertaining the idea that what's best for America is to blow up our old alliances with England, Germany, France, Japan, the rest of the NATO alliance, and go, hey, I think Russia's going to be a better fit for us. And all of a sudden, we're in a place where America and Russia are teaming up to kind of take over the world. That sounds very villainous, but the thing is, okay, so, but from his perspective, you wouldn't see it like that. He would see it as a businessman going, hey, this is the right deal, da-da-da-da-da. Putin's the guy. Quit messing around with these people over here, and this is going to be better for everybody.
It's so sad. When was the last time I heard someone do that? They thought it was better for the... Oh, that's right. Hitler said that. That's my bad. Yeah, I remember that now. That's right. We said it's best for the... That's the problem. The Auschwitz problem. Yeah, okay. I remember that.
All right.
I'm not saying that's what because you're saying you think, and if that's what he's thinking, the last one I could think of was that. And I know people have a problem. Don't call him Hitler. I'm not saying that he is. I'm saying if that's what he's thinking, like you said, you think that might be, that's the same way that other dude was thinking, and the same way that everyone else is thinking. Just eradicate the problem. Like,
well, what you were saying too was about power, and if the president wants to align himself with people that he deems powerful, how is he quantifying and how is he defining powerful? Because that's going to mean different things to each person. You put some bands with a guitar on stage, that's the most powerful thing in your purview. Like that band on stage, that's powerful. But when we're talking politics, are you talking about how well they persuade someone's opinion, how they're followed, how they're envisioned by their people?
He almost goes by, I think, Twitter likes. Because if you notice this, and I'm into sports and whatnot, he does not go after LeBron James. LeBron has more Twitter followers, has a lot of power. LeBron has publicly said, that's not my president. He's called him a bum. He has said things, and he has never gone back on LeBron, but he goes back on other people. So he might look at it in that same way, too. He's on Twitter all the time. More so than I am, anyone in this room, I think.
And we're unfortunately,
and that's when we talk about power. Like, what is, how he could deem it.
So that when he was talking about how, okay, so I'm going to wrap up my fear, or my concern. Well, I'll wrap up my concern, and we'll move on because Chris did the right thing to switch gears here and put in the National Emoji Day. Please give us one. Elliot knocks it out of the park first. Right out.
Yeah. Said,
Elliot knocks it out of the park. Just put a bikini emoji up, which then this goes back to the beginning of my career now, Chris. This goes, or a battle I had through my entire career is always go, you know what? No, we're going to do funny radio and highbrow radio, and we're going to do this and we're going to do that. And then end up in the end losing because you go, in the end, when you start talking about that stuff, you have to work in boobs somewhere just to get people back on board.
Right, and it's sad because like even in the middle of that, I was like, man, here I go. I'm talking about things I don't want to talk about. Like, so it's okay. Like we get one day out of the 365 you get me saying something.
All right. So my final
I just wish wouldn't it be cool? Listen, I'm not trying to advocate me being president, but wouldn't it be cool if we had a president who was like literally like doing things like you're beautiful and like imagine if we were like a one who would go to imagine if he went to Fernley and like just started just looking and being there, part of the people who are disabled that people forget about. Like, what could that ripple effect be for everybody else who sees that? Like, we're a nation of followers. 97% of the population of followers. 1.5% are good, 1.5% are just evil. And so the most dangerous people are the followers. So imagine as someone who is on that platform doing that. Oh my! What a wonderful world.
I think what you're looking for then is you hope that we have presidents and leaders with true empathy and compassion.
Real leaders, yes.
True empathy and compassion.
True empathy, absolutely.
All right. So to put the bow on the top of my fear that my fear box is
gift of fear
was watching the president what seemed like capitulating. And saying, no, listen, the President Putin said very strongly that they had nothing to do with it, that there's this, and the Americans are at fault for some of this stuff. The Russians have their stuff, but putting distance between him and our own intelligence agency. So
that was the question I wanted to ask Tim. Like, so when you heard that, what was your natural, honest reaction? I wish we'd asked him that, man. That's crazy. Like, you're gonna sit there and say like,
when
more than the FBI, like. Oh.
Now, I'll tell you what some commentators how they've tried to justify that.
Yeah.
Okay. One of them was you have to understand the president's point of view. Anytime that you bring up national intelligence, he automatically goes to, you're still trying to delegitimize my presidency, F you. So he doesn't even think, like, you can come and go, so he goes, no, because these are the same people. If I give them credibility on this, then I got to give them credibility that I had something to do with, or my campaign had something to do with rigged election. So it's been explained as, so he won't even allow that to be part of the discussion. So that's one way to explain why he said what he did. So the only thing that I can hope for, well, I won't say only thing I know for.
Growth.
Some others will say that he has such a great acumen and intelligence and so on, a vision of the world, that this is still part of a big game. A multi-dimensional game that he can play and we don't get right now. So
let me say this to everybody right now who has a problem with this. Just remember, this too shall pass. There's an end. You can only do that for 8 years total, and then something else will come along. Just remember, it will end. Whether it ends in bloodshed, hey, I hear you. We've gotten through. We'll get through again. It's
might end in genocide, but it will end.
Listen, I'm saying, let's pray it doesn't go there, but at some point, it's going to end, and there will be something else that we have to deal with.
Yep.
And quite frankly, the most dangerous thing any of us are going to do is wrap this up and then immediately go get behind the wheel of a car. That's the most dangerous thing you can do. So you have to start narrowing that focus where it's like, all right, I can worry about Russia and I can worry about all this, or I can focus on the road to make sure I get home safely
to my family and my babies.
That's the big overarching
babies.
too.
Go ahead, you two, and pull out your phones and then hit the little thing that would bring up emojis, because then your most used emojis will pop up.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
All right, I want to see Chris and you, Steven, and then pass your phones over if you don't mind. I'll start. But my, I guess this goes in order of how much you use them. Hearts there at the top, of course. As you can see, bacon.
Just put your first one up.
Bacon.
Just play it. Play your first one, not play it. But just,
you mean over here?
Yeah, that's what I just did.
I don't
your first
know
one.
if
Your
I
first
can.
one. Your main one.
Oh, because I'm not on.
Logged out. Okay, so here's what's a heart.
So there you
yours?
go. Well, I just think it's
Mine's
funny.
the blush face, which is quite poetic.
Yeah, I want everyone who's watching, put your what you most often use.
Your top 3 or your top 5, whatever that top row is.
Top
that
one
top
is
row.
the gold
So
in
hold
the
on.
heart.
So the complete.
You know who gets the gold in the heart.
By the way, I think the most important ones are go downwards from the top, or the ones that use the most, and then go. Maybe not, because I'm looking at it and I can't think of the last. But anyway, bacon and avocados are my top. Right, yours is. So here's. All right, so here's Steve's most frequent. 100. All right, 100.
These are my top 5 used.
All right, I like that right there in the top is a black thumbs up too.
That's awesome. Todd's is a smiley face, the really happy face, the cool, the music, and the notes. That's awesome. Maribel, give us a heart.
And now I want to do. I think
this is really good.
Yeah. Now,
Sharon, put yours on. Come on, love.
All right, so now I am going to go to the phone.
Molly's on. Molly, put yours on too if you're still there, baby.
All right, let's do this. Where'd you
that old Todd T.
Isn't that fun thought though? Like we're going back to hieroglyphics in some way. Like we're not talking through words, we're talking through pictures.
Yeah, symbols.
It's gonna be weird the next 5 years, man.
I mean, they're taking away cursive.
Yep.
So and they're no longer using analog clocks. It's all gonna be digital, which is crazy. So maybe we will have just be smiley faces.
What is it like for your kids in school though? Is it just a different set of circumstances when it comes to all of the content and everything like that?
Well, I have to admit, man, I'm really impressed with the curriculum that my kids, the school they go to, man.
Good.
Like, I walk in there and they're like learning Spanish. I'm like, good, you know what I mean? Like I'm in there and they're, reading some pretty integral books. I'm like, oh, that's a good reading level, so that's cool. But there are some schools where, I mean, geez, they just want to go play and they're just behind, Elliot gives us the brain. Elliot.
Because then it's up to our imagination to figure out why it is that those are the top 2 things. Lick my brain. Or he constantly gets texts coming to him. Here's what happened, Chris.
Yeah.
He gets so many texts going to him how you're so
like,
smart.
I can't think. You're killing my brain, Smalls. Sharon's is it's a gift. The gift.
The top one is
Sharon,
present.
you're awesome.
Oh, is a present. Oh,
yeah,
that is
she's
nice.
awesome.
All right, you guys. Well,
I don't think Natalie's on. I don't think Molly's on either.
Okay.
It's jacked up. I'm gonna text Molly and be like, I just gave you a shout out. Where are you?
Oh, did you ever see what Elliot said?
No.
I think that Lick My Brain will be my podcast. I'd listen. I'd listen to Lick My Brain. All right. And with that, you guys want to wrap? Because one of the things that we haven't paid off yet is the future of the Wake.Show, and there's some things up in the air. Is that something we can even delve into today, or is that okay? All right. All right. Thank you so much for being a part of the Wake.
Thank you, Steve, for showing up.
Thank you guys for having me, as always.
Third dude, man. I like it.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the interaction, the engagement, the likes, the shares, and inviting your friends. Have a great Tuesday. I'll see you guys out. Whoops. Let's do this. Let's do it. Here we go. Have a great Tuesday. I will see you tonight at Boulevard Burgers for those of you coming out for trivia. And are you gigging, Mr.
Tonight
McCarty?
I am off. I will be at Krabby Bill's tomorrow in Indian Rocks Beach. Then I'm going to be in Dunedin on Thursday, at Kelly's. I think I'm off Friday. And I'm definitely at the Council Oak at the Hard Rock on Saturday night.
Thursday, Kelly's?
Yep.
I'll be there, man.
My dog.
Oh, I didn't even tell you that I've got a gig out there now.
Where at Kelly's?
Yeah.
No way.
Starting like in 2 weeks, they want to do a monthly themed trivia night. So
you need to put chords on that, because the fact that I'm playing there and you're down there, they need to be doing something to sponsor and do something. That's what we need to put on.
Because
put chords on that like immediately.
It'll be the first Monday in August, and it's Sopranos themed. So it'll be the Sopranos.
Trust me on this one, man. I know I know those dudes. We're on to you. You ain't gonna beat me.
All right. Thank you so much for being a part of the Wake.Show today. Have a great day, and we will see you tomorrow. Bye.
Bye.